good evening, and welcome to our last Fireside Chat of the semester. Today, we are going to go through our application process and talk about how to finalize your application for the ECU STEPP 2026 cohort. So let's go ahead and get started. So I am Ashley Cooper, the transition specialist for the STEP program. And tonight we're just going to kind of briefly talk about STEP and then jump right into the application. So, for the STEP program, it stands for Supporting Transition and Education Through Planning and Partnerships. So, if you're just joining us live right now, make sure you drop any questions that you have in the chat, and I'm going to answer them live. And as I talk about the STEP program tonight, so the STEP program provides comprehensive academic support for students with learning disabilities at East Carolina University. So, those specific learning disabilities could include a reading disorder, dyslexia, a disorder of written expression, dysgraphia, a math disorder, dyscalculia, and students must have this documented specific learning disability in order to be eligible for the STEP program and be eligible through services through our ECU Disability Support Services. So we have a great partner on campus. So the STEP program provides that comprehensive academic support, and disability support services on campus provides students with accommodations once they're on campus. So two key differences there when thinking about those different supports on campus. So, wanted to let you guys know we have 7 days until the STEP 2026 application closes. So the STEP 2026 application closes in 7 days, May 15th, 2025. So that Thursday, we are ending out our applications for this semester. So if you haven't started your application and you're thinking about applying to the STEP program, make sure you contact me so I can help you throughout that process. So thinking about a student that's applying, in order to be eligible to apply to the STEP program, you must be a current junior, meaning that you're graduating by the spring of 2026 and you are on that college preparatory track. So thinking about applying to the STEP program, current junior, if you're in your junior semester, make sure you get your application in before the deadline, 7 days until that application closes. So make sure you get that in. And if you need any help in terms of what do you need to do to apply to the STEP program, make sure you visit our website at step.ecu.edu. When you're thinking about applying to the STEP program, it is a separate process than the admissions application. So you would start with your STEP applications first. So thinking about the STEP application, it starts first. We are an alternative admissions process. So we look at admissions a little bit differently. We take a more holistic approach in terms of looking at admitting students into the STEP program. So when thinking about admitting students, we are thinking about those students that may have challenges in terms of their GPA may not be as high, or their SAT and ACT scores. We look at those things a little bit differently than admissions looks at those, because we're an alternative admissions program and we're a separate application process. So you must apply to the STEP program before you actually apply to ECU. So we have a separate application process, looks a little different than the application process for ECU. So, like I said, if you have any questions, I can answer those questions live tonight. So make sure you drop those questions in the chat so I'm able to answer those live. So in order to finalize your application, so if you already started your application for the STEP program, I wanted to kind of give you some key checkpoints in terms of how you can finish out your application strong. So I really encourage every applicant to look at our application guide. It provides a comprehensive overview of all the information that you need to know in order to submit your application. So if you have any questions about your psychoeducational evaluation and what that encompasses, or you have any questions about how do I get my scores for the ACT and SAT uploaded for you, or what are documentation of accommodations for the SAT and how do I get those things, checking the application guide is a great resource, and also checking our checklist. So if you are going through and finalizing your application, checking the checklist can help you check off some key points in terms of making sure you have all of the application materials. And when I say application materials, we do have a very comprehensive application. And so we do ask for a lot of information. So we ask for your high school transcripts. We ask for your report card to get your current grades in your classes. We ask for your SAT or ACT scores, documentations of any accommodations that you may have received on the ACT and SAT. And then we also ask for 2 core teacher recommendations. So your core teachers, English, science, math, social studies, foreign language, those teachers, asking them for recommendations. We do have a separate recommendation form that teachers have to fill out. You only need 2 teachers for those recommendations, but you can put up to 7 um, different educators or recommenders on your actual application. And then we also ask for your psychoeducational evaluation, and then documentations of any accommodations that you may have received in high school. So that could be documentations of a 504 plan, a IEP plan, a learning plan, those kind of accommodations that you may have received in that K-12 setting. And then we also ask that students complete an essay. So we do have our own essay prompts. It's about a couple of questions that you will answer in order to complete that essay process. All that information can be found on our guide and our checklist. So great resources to help you kind of finish out that application strong. Also, it's very important for you to check your email throughout the application process. So, one cool thing that I do throughout the application, as you're submitting documents, I send you updated emails about your application status. So, what do I currently have on file for you, and what things do we need in order for you to finish out your application? These are really helpful for you to kind of rely on in terms of asking for your recommendations from your educators. So any teacher that you may have shared the educator link with, you can say, hey, I was wondering if you filled out my recommendation form yet. And then sometimes I send you that email and it has that information in it of who I haven't received yet. So you can reach out to those educators so you know where you are in terms of standing with those recommendations. And then always follow up before the deadline. So I will send out information to you throughout the process. And then when your application is complete, I let you know your application is complete. But many students, if you are receiving report cards closer to the deadline, you can still send in that information to me as well throughout that process. And if you have any questions or need more information, remember to reach out to me. You can send me emails and I can reply to those to help you through the application process. So that's the biggest thing when thinking about going through the application process itself, is reaching out and going and also following up with me to ensure that you understand all the things that you need for the application. Another thing I wanted to kind of go over tonight is our application timeline. So many of you that may have already started your application, you already know it's due on May 15th of 2025. So you're probably like, I turned in my application. What happens next? So if you are in this situation, if you turn in your application, what happens next? So what we do is after you turn in your application, our admissions teams reviews all the applications, and for those students who meet qualifications as outlined in our application guide, um, those students will be sent an invite for an on-campus interview. So if you're selected to move on to the next phase of the admissions process, we invite you to an interview. Typically, our interviews are held in late July. It's a 1-day interview, so it's a day experience. Throughout that day, we do have a couple of things we kind of share with you throughout that process, but a general overview of the interview day, and this is what it looks like. We do an overview of STEP. We give you the ability to ask any questions you may have about our program itself and the comprehensive academic supports we have. Kind of get you that foundation and understanding to make sure you understand the whole and program in its entirety. And then we also give you the ability to do a short tour around campus, thinking about all those different resources we have on campus, so you can ask those questions to get that personal view of ECU. And then we also do 3 interviews. So you will interview with our admissions team. We have 3 people on that interview. So it'll be myself, our director of the STEP program, Mr. Adam Denny, and then our instructional specialist will be a part of that interview process. And then once you finish that interview day, you will hear back from the STEP program in late August, early September with our admissions decision. So by that time, you will be in your senior year and you will get that information to know whether you would have made it into the STEP program's cohort. So if you're thinking about applying to the STEP program, we are in our 2026 cycle. So those are for current juniors. Make sure you apply today at step.ecu.edu/apply. I wanted to go into some frequently asked questions that I get about the STEP program, just in case we didn't get any questions tonight. So if you're listening in now, feel free. If you have any questions, no question is too big or too small. Make sure you drop those questions into the chat and I'll answer them now live. If you have any questions throughout the live stream tonight. So the first question that I have on queue is there a limit to the number of applicants accepted into the ECU STEP 2026 cohort? So I get this question a lot. So we do have a limit on how many students are accepted each fall semester into our program. So we accept 10 students each fall semester. And we invite those students into a cohort. So I say that word cohort, and I kind of want to break that word down. So a cohort is a group of students that will come in together through a certain timeline. So that's the group of students that will come in for the fall of 2026. So that's what we kind of mean when we say cohort. There's a group of students coming in at that central time. So for those students coming in, we will invite 10 students for that fall semester in for that cohort. And we do a lot of team building things with that cohort. Students come in and they take very similar classes, if not the same classes, of their peers in the cohort. It's kind of mimicking those things that we see in the K-12 of you have your peers to kind of do those gentle reminders of, oh my gosh, I have a paper due this week. And those kind of things happen naturally throughout that process of that first year transition. So we really are really intentional about that first year transition, because we do also have a transition curriculum that students go to. So earlier, if you are just joining us now, we accept 10 students per fall semester, and students apply during their junior year of high school. And the reason for that early acceptance into the program is because during their high school senior year, I support those students with a transition curriculum. So they kind of get cohorted in as well through that transition curriculum. So really great resource for students. Remember, if you are thinking about applying to the STEP program, our application deadline is May 15th. So I wanted to go over another question that we get often about STEP. Is what if I need assistance during the STEP application process? So we do know that our application process is very comprehensive. So I want to be here as a resource for any student that's thinking about applying to the STEP program. So if you are thinking about applying to the STEP program, I'm always here as a resource. So you can always send me an email so I can follow up with you about the application process itself. So if you're thinking about applying to the STEP program, I do provide you with application updates. So I provide you with the information in regards to what part of the application you have completed so far, or which parts. And then also I provide you with a list of required documents that we have on file for you so far, which also includes your teacher recommendations as well. So I keep you in the loop of what we have on file so that you're able to go and request that information from your school if you need to. So that's how I keep that process going. And if you're ever in a situation where you're not sure what we have on file, or you just need help returning back to the application, always send me an email at cooperash22@ecu.edu. And that way I can respond and get you those updates on how to reply. So if you are just joining us tonight, remember that I can answer your questions live here. So submit your questions through the chat and I will answer those live. All right. So as we move on through this process, I wanted to go over another frequently asked question that we get from students that are applying to the STEP program. And this one is a big one. So we have students taking the ACT or SAT. How do I submit my scores to the STEP program? We really want you to understand that we are a part of ECU, but if you send your scores to ECU, that goes to undergraduate admissions, not directly to STEP. So in order to submit your ACT and SAT scores for the STEP program, you have to actually take either a screenshot of that information on your computer or download a PDF file of your HCT and SAT scores from your actual portal. It could be from the College Board portal, but you can download that information and then upload it to the STEP application. So we do have two ways that you can upload it to your application. You can upload it directly to your application, meaning that you connect it to your application information form. So that's a part of the application process for the STEP program. Or we do have another form on our website that's called application materials. You can also upload that information there as well. So bringing that up takes me to that the idea of maybe you're not familiar with what I'm talking about in terms of the different forms for the STEP program. So I wanted to take us really quickly to the website to take a look at those things. So if you're visiting our website, of course, you'll come to our homepage. This is our homepage of our STEP program website. Here's where you can find any information about our own campus visits, our virtual visits, and our live streams, and also information about our application is here as well. As you can see, our application is closing in 7 days. We have our countdown going on the website. So there's where you can find information about the application. And in addition to that, we also have our application guide. So here I just clicked apply and then application guide, and takes you to this page. And here is the guide. You can click through these different forms to get more information about the application process. Here we also have application tutorials. So if you're having trouble returning back to your application or finding your survey queue to get back to different forms of your application or putting in your return code, these are some great videos to help you through those processes. What I really wanted to go over here is when you're uploading that information to STEP, you have two ways to do it. So here is the link to our recommendation form. So, if an educator is providing you with a recommendation, you can either send them this link or this page, and they can click this link here, and it takes them directly to the form that they have to submit on your behalf. And then here is also where your school or different educators can also upload application materials. So those application materials could include your transcript, your IEP, your SAT scores, documentations of accommodations. All of that information can be uploaded by your educators or your case managers on your behalf, or your parents can go in as well to upload that information if they have that on file. So those are great resources to think about and when you're applying to the STEP program. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure you apply now to the STEP program, because our deadline is May 15th and we're coming up on that deadline very shortly. Our deadline for our applications is in 7 days. So we only have 7 days until our application closes. So if you are thinking about applying to the STEP program, you would apply by visiting our website at step.ecu.edu/apply. And then all your application materials must be submitted by Thursday, May 15th. And you can review our application guide and checklist to make sure you've submitted all your required materials. So I want to take us very quickly back to our frequently asked questions. So for the ACT and SAT scores, you'll upload that either directly to your application, or you can use that material upload form. So those are two ways that you can upload that information. So what documents do I need to submit with my application? So the documents that you need to submit with your application, and I went over a few earlier, but if you're having trouble finding this information, I will say that it's on our guide as well as our application checklist. So going through the different documents that you would need for your application, you need your high school um, transcripts, your most updated report card, your IEP or 504 plan, or other documentations of accommodations that you may have received in the K-12 environment. That could be accommodation plan or a learning plan. You need 2 core subject teachers' recommendations. And then you also have to make sure you send that recommendation link to your educator so they are able to provide the information on your behalf. You need to either request and upload your SAT and or ACT scores. You need documentation of accommodations for the SAT and or ACT. You need to upload your psychoeducational evaluation. And you also need to upload your drafts of your essay and your final essay. So when we are looking at the essays as a whole, I know that's a little different, but for our essay form, we want to see your writing process. So we want to see the drafts of your essay and your final essay. So every single component of your essay, so we can see your entire writing process, must be uploaded to your application, as well as your other demographic information. So as you are completing the different forms, you will complete an applicant information form, and that's just your basic demographic information. You'll complete a family information form, contact information, demographic data is there. Your education information form gives us just your current school you're going to, as well as what kind of plans or supports they have for you. Your application's material info form updates us on what core teachers will be submitting your recommendations. It also lets us know which test you took or both. So you can take the SAT or the ACT, and sometimes students take both and submit both of those things. And then documentations of accommodations for the SAT and ACT, and then those psychoeducational evaluations there. The essay form, you will submit your drafts of your essay and your final essay. And then your wrap up form helps you kind of go through and finalize your application. So, in terms of checks and balances, there, you're able to see all of the required documents you need and then upload all those things to your application. All right. So, let's take a look at application materials. So, looking at your application materials. So, if I take us back to the website really quickly, and if I go here and I go to the apply to step page, we haven't taken a look at this page yet. Here is where you can actually start your application. Here is kind of another way for you to get through the guide. I also host application workshops throughout the semester. So if you are having trouble or need assistance with your application, make sure you reach out to me. And then we prepared some information about how to actually apply to the application. Here are some additional links here, the recommendations and the application upload. You can upload those materials there. But here's where I want to get to make sure everybody has a clear understanding. Your checklist is here, and that checklist has all the information that you need to submit in order to apply the step. And then also, I talk very quickly about our essay prompts. So we do have our own essay prompts for a student. So you have to address each of these prompts in your essay. So you can go to our website to find this information in terms of what you would need to submit as part of your essay. So I wanted to take a quick look at the application checklist and the application guide to make sure you have a clear view of what information you need to submit to the STEP program. I'm going to check the chat really quickly. Remember, we are here to answer any questions that you have live. So if you have any questions about the STEP program, don't hesitate to ask those questions live now. So I wanted to remind you guys again that our application closes on May 15th. So we are 1 week away from our application closing. So we have 1 week until our application closes. Our application deadline is May 15th. Remember, it's a separate application process from our ECU undergraduate admissions. So you apply to the STEP program first, and you apply to the STEP program during your junior year of high school. So make sure I say that again. The STEP program for the 2026 cohort, you would apply for your junior year of high school. So if you are a current junior, as of today, which is May 8th, 2025, if you are a current junior, you would apply to our 2026 application process. Our application closes in 1 week. And if you have any questions or if you're unsure about when you apply or how do you apply, make sure you contact me, Ashley Cooper, the transition specialist, so I can help you through that process. Again, my contact information is there in the bottom left-hand corner. Cooper Ash 22 at ecu.edu. So as you go through this process, if you need any support, remember to reach out so we can help you with the application process. Remember, applications are now open for our 2026 cohort, and you can apply today at step.ecu.edu/apply. So we only have 1 week until our applications closes, and we are so excited about that. Our application is closing for the STEP program. So if you have any questions about the STEP program, you can drop those questions in the chat now. I can answer those live before we tune out off for the fireside chat. But if you are a processor like me and you're like, I didn't answer them live, but I still have questions about the STEP program, make sure you contact us at step.ecu.edu by visiting our website or contacting us by our email at step@ecu.edu or give us a phone call. So we are there to support you through the application process. Remember, our application deadline is May 15th. So if you're thinking about applying to the STEP program, you have 1 week until that application closes. And then also, I wanted to leave you with my contact information as well. So if you have any questions either about the STEP program or our application process, or you need support with finishing out your application, make sure you contact me, Ashley Cooper, the transition specialist for the STEP program, or you can send me an email or contact me via phone. Really quickly, I want to take us back to the website before we close out. And I want to take us to our visit page, because if you have not yet visited East Carolina University, make sure you check out the STEP program's virtual tour so you get a good understanding of what STEP has to offer in terms of support. Here is where you can see what we call the Cove is located in Joyner Library. This is where students can work on assignments in their studies. They also can get help from mentors and professional staff that are available to those students. So just to touch on it again, the STEP program provides students with comprehensive academic support. So if you are thinking about applying to the STEP program, our application deadline is May 15th, and you would be applying for our 2026 cohort. So that means you are a current junior, which means you're graduating by the spring of 2026, and our application deadline is May 15th. So I know that was a lot of information tonight. So I want to wrap up by saying thank you for joining us tonight. Our application is closing in 7 days. So make sure you apply to the STEP program by our May 15th deadline. And if you have any questions about the STEP program, make sure you contact me, the transition specialist for the STEP program, so I'm able to support you with that application process. So I want to end out by saying no questions is too big or too small. So make sure you reach out so you can learn more about STEP. And if you have any questions, make sure you can reach out to me about the STEP program and our application process. One last time, I'm going to say it before we get off tonight, is that our application closes on May 15th. There's 7 days left, May 15th, 2025, of our STEP 2026 cohort. So if you're thinking about applying to the STEP program, make sure you apply today. Go Pirates.